Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. My name is Reg Smith and I'm your MC for today's meeting of Rotary Melbourne. Once again, we're broadcasting from various locations, and if at any time you have any difficulties during today's meeting, please be assured we will be loading a video recording and podcast of today's meeting on the Rotary Melbourne website in the next day or so. Please note that most microphones have been muted for the duration of the presentation. Questions and comments can be posed via the chat function throughout the presentation. Thanks today will be given by Cheryl Lacey, followed by the loyal toast presented by President Kevin Sheehan. Please ensure your glass or another appropriate vessel is charged for the toast. Over to you, Cheryl. Please go ahead.
Thanks very much, Reg. For centuries, philosophers have sought answers to these three questions. What is the purpose of education? What does it mean to have a good education? And how does education relate to life and life's purpose? Some believe education should prepare us for the workforce. Others believe education should be focused more on social, academic, cultural, and intellectual development. We could then think critically and debate with authority on issues of importance. The true purpose of Rotary is education, to teach and to learn among friends, colleagues, mentors, and guests. May today and every Rotary gathering be one of teaching, learning, and debating with authority on issues of importance for education and freedom. Through fellowship and service, we give thanks.
Thank you, Cheryl, and welcome to Rotarians and guests. I give you a toast to Australia and Rotary International. Australia and Rotary International. Members, visitors and guests, it's my pleasure to welcome you to our 43rd meeting of the Rotary year and our 11th meeting, which has been conducted what is becoming now the new normal in the online format. Today is an important day in the club's calendar, the presentation of the 2020 Young Achievers Award. And we're honoured to have as our special guest presenter, Reverend Dr. Peter Hollingworth, AC, OBE, past Governor-General of Australia. As guests of the club, we have our 2020 awardees, Olivia Beasley, Hamid, and Nganjo Sinjibi, and I might have a correction on that pronunciation, my apology, but we certainly welcome them and their family and friends and associates that have joined. So a special welcome to all of those named. Also today we have Deb Ashbolt with us, philanthropy advisor at the Bionics Institute, who will be shortly inducted into the membership of Rotary Melbourne. And we also have, for a special presentation, the naming of a multiple Paul Harris Fellow. We have Jeremy Oates, and I see his wife Susan is with him today. So welcome to you all as well. And I'm delighted to see so many members and guests joining us as we had those few minutes before the meeting started to see you all come online. And I know we have Katrina Ryan, the chair of Skyline Education Foundation, on board today. So thank you, Katrina, for joining us. To all our other guests, we want you to feel most welcome. And now the induction of Deb Ashbolt into the membership of Rotary Melbourne. Deb, we welcome you as a member of Rotary Melbourne, as Reg will now move to screenshot you. And today you enter an organisation of more than 1.2 million members in over 35,000 clubs in more than 200 countries that embrace the internationality of Rotary. We believe that you have the personal and professional qualities that will ensure the principles of Rotary will be safe in your keeping. The badge that you'll receive, and I hope you'll wear with pride, indicates your commitment to the objective Rotary, to which we all aspire, to encourage the ideal of service above self. We expect that you'll become an ambassador from us to the community in which you live, and we ask that you convey Rotary's aims in all that you do. Deb, we will look forward to you pursuing with us the great work of Rotary. And so with this expectation, I offer you the right hand of fellowship and ask members to join me in welcoming you to membership of our club. We're getting very good at our virtual welcomes, but one day we do look forward, Deb, to actually welcoming you in person. That day will come, but for the moment, we'd be very pleased if you would respond with a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you all members. It's an absolute honour for me to join Melbourne Rotary today. I have known of Rotary all my life. From a young child, my father was involved in Q Rotary for a very long time, and I have got to know a little bit about Melbourne Rotary through the time I worked with the John T. Reid Charitable Trusts and, of course, the Sir John Reid Community Award. That's an annual event. I have a strong belief in community and supporting community. I was really interested in the comments before about education, which I think is just incredibly vital. And I think supporting community, it's so important to support people who are disadvantaged to help themselves, to give them the skills, whether it be early education, whether it be someone who's found themselves in a difficult position, giving them skill to believe in themselves again and become strong people. So I thank you. I very much look forward to my involvement in Rotary, and thank you for your warm welcome.
Deb, you're more than welcome, and thank you for your kind words. And because I ran off script, I'd like to now call on Reg Smith, your sponsor, to formally introduce you to the club. My apologies.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I'll make this brief, but it really is my honour and privilege today to introduce Deb to the club. She will be joining under the classification of marketing and philanthropy. She will be joining the North Balwyn and Ivanhoe group and will be known in the club as Deb. Her club mentor will be David Carruthers. I think with that, I can hand back to you, Kevin.
Well, that actually worked better, Deb, so I think we might redo our script in future. But thank you for the prompt, Joe Mavris. And now to go back to my script, and don't mind any prompts if I miss something else. We have a very special presentation, and that's the recognition of a Paul Harris Fellow, the recognition by the Rotary Melbourne to a very special member. The Paul Harris recognition was established in 1957, to honour Paul Harris, who founded Rotary in 1905. It is the tradition of Rotary Melbourne and many others in this world to honour by naming stalwart Rotarians and other members and non-members who have helped build a better world by their outstanding contributions to the club and or the community, people who practice the Rotary motto of service above self to a notable degree. I would now ask our MC, Reg, to spotlight Jeremy Oates for the naming of Paul Harris Fellow by our club. And Jeremy's accompanied by Susan today, and it's good to see you both there.
Thank you.
Professor Jeremy Oates. Jeremy Oates was inducted into Rotary Club of Melbourne on the 13th of March 1991 with the classification of obstetrics and gynecology. After a short break from Rotary in late 1990s, he rejoined Rotary Melbourne on the 17th of April 2002 and has been an active and involved Rotarian ever since. Born in Adelaide and educated in Geneva and Hobart, he graduated from Adelaide University in 1968. Following his hospital appointments in Adelaide, Jeremy spent over 2 years in Papua New Guinea and then completed his postgraduate training in Nottingham, United Kingdom. Jeremy returned to Australia in 1978, the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at Melbourne University, Mercy Maternity and Austin Hospitals. He completed his doctorate in medicine at Nottingham University in 1983 and left Melbourne University in 1987 to enter private practice. Jeremy is an exemplary Rotarian who lives by the motto service above self. Through his involvement in project work of Rotary Melbourne and through leadership of the vocational training team to Timor-Leste, which has made a significant contribution to the mission of Rotary Foundation to do good in the world. In 2013, Jeremy was named a Paul Harris Sapphire by a grateful District 9800 by then District Governor Dennis Shaw, and in 2017 was recognised by the Rotary Foundation Service Award presented by District Governor Neville John. Staging 26 sets of training workshops in Timor-Leste and participating in 18, Jeremy has told me that with funding still available, 2 additional workshops were planned for early this year, but have been held over due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Jeremy, we believe that your commitment to Rotary and the international community make you a very worthy recipient of a Paul Harris recognition by Rotary Melbourne. And for your sustained commitment to service above self, it gives me great pleasure to name you on behalf of the board and members of Rotary Melbourne a multiple Sapphire Paul Harris Fellow. Your pin and citation will be delivered in due course, but I'll now ask members to join me in congratulating Jeremy. And with that virtual recognition, Jeremy, I'd be delighted if Reg would now spotlight you and say a few words.
Well, thank you very much, President Kevin, for your very generous words, and fellow Rotarians and guests. When I think the greatest strength of Rotary lies in its team development engagement, and the VTT project to provide refresher training in emergency obstetrics to midwives and doctors in Timor-Leste, I believe epitomises this. Ironically, it's only because of COVID-19 that I'm able to be with you today, as we were scheduled to be running the last of our 44 sets of workshops in Pekeki this week. So to our team, the Timor-Leste teaching team, Ingrid Busens, a paediatrician, Mita Thapa, who was the head of EMOC, Emergency Obstetric Program from UNFPA, who very sadly died quite recently, Caroline Homer, Fiona Cullinane and Jim Lee. And to our core Timor-Leste trainees who now run most of our work, Joel de Jesus, Helena de Jesus, Dr. Anna Orne, Dr. Thomas Pereira, Dr. Doxy Pereira from Balcao, the Timor-Leste Rotary Office, initially of course Daryl Mills and subsequently Mario de Jesus and Judith Martins. The 9800 Foundation team, Ian Knight, who I'm delighted to see here, particularly want to pay tribute to Ian, who worked tirelessly to set up the original grant from Rotary International and who protected us from the challenges of Rotary grant applications and the multiple subsequent reports with frequent calls to Evanston, and I gather there nobody dared not answer his calls. And following Ian stepping back, to past District Governors Dennis Shaw, Julie Mason and Murray Verso. And turning the Rotary Club of Melbourne, the support of all the presidents, and especially to Bob Blinderman, whose contacts and knowledge of Timor-Leste challenges were invaluable and whose wise counsel smoothed many a hiccup. The board members of ET Roofing, Bob, Peter Manger and Richard Fowler, whose generous monetary grant has given us the opportunity, when COVID-19 retreats, to run the 2 final sets of workshops. I've left until last my tribute to my co-team leader, Northbourne Rotarian Professor Sue McDonald, who's done more than her fair share of the organisation and training development workload. Without Sue, this project would not have succeeded. And to my significant other Sue, who fortuitously took the original call from Robert Reid asking on behalf of District 9800 Foundation, would I be interested in going to Timor to look at possible projects to reduce maternal and child mortality, and happily dobbed me in, and then provided organisational support for the 3 visits and kept our home fires burning while I had such a self-fulfilling time in Timor-Leste. So, on behalf of all the team, thank you for this recognition.
Well spoken.
The chat line has been busy, Jeremy. Well deserved is the most common comment, and I can only echo that and thank you. Congratulations, and I hope that the 2 of you will have a chance to enjoy a nice glass of something later in the day in celebration.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've got much more out of this than I've ever given.
It's a pleasure, and I know you're still giving a lot more, so thank you. It's now my great pleasure to introduce someone who needs no introduction to the Rotary Melbourne, but our esteemed member, Dr. Peter Hollingworth. Peter is going to officiate in the Young Achievers Awards today, and I'm delighted to be able to have him on hand to do this. I now call on Peter to lead the ceremony.
Thank you very much, President. It's a very great honour for me to do this. And I just want to say a few brief things before getting right into the core of the matter, and to remind us that our club, the Rotary Club of Melbourne, presents awards each year to several Australians whom it regards as worthy recipients, recognising the contributions they've made in community leadership and service. And the great thing about it is that they all become part of the Rotary Community Fellowship Network. It's one of the highlights of the year when the chair of the Young Achievers Awards Committee presents 3 awards to young people between the ages of 18 and 26. And speaking personally for a moment about my involvement in this process each year, we've found among those nominated by their organisations young people of the highest calibre who've come before the membership and briefly told their story, which has invariably been a very moving one in each case for us to hear and to admire and to encourage. This year's 3 young people, Olivia Beasley and Heba, involved in advocacy. In the case of Olivia, an advocate and a role model for the deaf. In Ghana, the passion of helping other young people like himself to thrive. And Heba, community work with diversity and inclusion locally and at an international level, particularly through the United Nations. In their remarkable endeavours within their respective communities, they have all been nurtured through the difficult passages of their lives by family, by mentors, educators, and several key partner organisations with whom the Rotary Club of Melbourne has built great relationships over the years. There are a few factors more important in the development and the thriving of young people, several of whom have settled in Australia, followed by deeply disruptive circumstances and danger, suffering, and so forth, faced by their families and their countries of birth. As you, President, reminded us, Rotary's motto, quite simply, is service above self. And in the age of the selfie, of self-interest, of self-promotion, of consumerism, and the pursuit of personal gain and individualism, this ancient motto sounds almost counterproductive. Till now, it often feels like rowing against a stream of mass-mediated values of the self. And I mention that because each of those who have been acknowledged today so far have been great exemplars of the very opposite. Perhaps the worldwide coronavirus will be a lesson in the recovery of community in its wider sense. Many, many Australians and people throughout the world hope so. However hard it's been and will be in the future, we will all learn, just as you and countless other young people are discovering, quote, that we're all in this together, and that the world will be a better place to live in despite what's happened. And it will be boosted mightily by Reconciliation Week, for whom a new song has been composed, We're All in This Together. This is not the way that we would normally make these presentations of the young achievers, but we are still here in the presence of some very important people, you and those in your lives, and who are here streaming proudly sharing in your achievements in both caring of others and pursuing justice for all in your different ways, in your different communities. It gives me great pleasure to be able to hand over to the committee chair, Iqbal Rita, to introduce you and to present the awards to which you are each invited to respond. And I will know we will be greatly inspired by what you have to say to us today. Iqbal.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for your wonderful words. President Kevin, distinguished guests and fellow Rotarians, it gives me great pleasure to chair today's meeting. It's a meeting that recognizes the education service of 3 blind young Victorians. Each year, the Rotary Club of Melbourne recognizes and honors outstanding young achievers with an award and a check for $1,500. In choosing a recipient, the candidate must be between 18 and 26 years of age, have demonstrated outstanding success in vocational training, academic, sports, or any business-related activity, and have a significant contribution in the form of service to the community. This also reinforces the Rotary Club of Melbourne's commitment and support through the years to all forms of vocational services. This afternoon, we will recognize 3 awardees and present them with the Young Achievers Award for 2020. For this, we congratulate them. We will also invite our recipient to talk to the club of their experiences and inspiration. And I hope we have enough time for questions because I think we have a lot to learn from these young people. Our first awardee today is Olivia Beasley. Olivia is currently studying part-time Bachelor of Communication at Deakin University. She has 3 more years to complete her degree. She's currently hired as Projects and Engagement Officer at Expressions Australia, implementing and delivering targeted engagement activities with deaf community. Olivia has contributed to the community through Youth Governor of Victoria, also serving as a board director of Deaf Australia, plus representing Australia at the World Federation of the Deaf Youth Section Camp in 2019 in Paris. She is an emerging leader in the youth, disability and deaf sectors. She communicates via Auslan at home with her sibling and parents who are also deaf. In 2019, she was given the Deaf Youth Australian of the Year award by Deaf Australia. She has also been awarded with the Emerging Leader Award by the state government. So please welcome Olivia. Olivia, would you like to speak? Would you like to share your thoughts with us?
Yes, thank you very much. So yes, I'm excited to be here today and to also be working with an interpreter, Sasha, whose voice you'll be hearing. I also wanted to thank Dr. Peter Hollingworth, Before we get started, I first would like to acknowledge my deaf community from the past, present, and future emerging leaders. We have some amazing people from our past who have advocated for our language and our culture to be accepted and celebrated. And without those people in our past, I wouldn't be here because I wouldn't have access to what I have had. I also would like to thank Rotary Melbourne for the recognition that I've been given through this award. I greatly appreciate this. Also, a large thank you, obviously, to Expression Australia, who have nominated me and recognised the work that I've done so far and also will in the future. I would like to thank Brent Phillips and also Christine Matheson, who have provided me with so many opportunities for involvement in skill development and opportunities to make sure that I can continue to progress as a leader. I think it's also important to acknowledge my parents who provided me with my language from birth. I had access to Auslan so I could communicate without any barriers within my family, and I think that that's quite a unique experience to have amongst you here. And again, I just want to talk about how amazing Auslan is a language. For me, I can't live without my Auslan. It's like oxygen to me. It's how I can communicate and how I can participate in society. In the past, yeah, I have been definitely very passionate about the language and the culture of the deaf community. And I think that it's so important for advocacy for the mainstream community to be aware of us, and so that we can be included and not excluded as a minority group. The advocacy enables us to make social change, and they don't have to be large things, they can be really small things that individually make a huge impact for the community. So moving forward, I think my focus has been sort of shifting. I think as a part of the results of COVID, we've seen a lot of opportunities that have previously been barriers. People have never known about necessarily the deaf community or the way that technology can help us to participate in things. Everyone is in isolation and by themselves, but we're working at how to be together and looking at after isolation is no longer necessarily required, how we can make sure that those changes stay. I also have been a leader. I am a leader at the YMCA Victoria Youth Parliament program. It's been an amazing opportunity to grow and learn about how to work within a mainly mainstream organisation and program. I've been able to talk about my culture and my language with that group, and has helped to change that as well. I also would like to acknowledge the Victorian government because of the opportunities that I've been able to have because of them as well. I think it's been some amazing experiences that I've had that I will hold on to for the rest of my life, and I will use those to inform the rest of my life to make sure that other people are important. It's important for other people to understand that they have the opportunity to grow and have access that I have had. Possibly after today, you might feel inspired to find out more about Auslan, and I would really recommend that you sign up for an online course or do some classes and learn about the language. And the more you learn, the more you'll have doors open to you. I hope that you'll learn a little bit about the deaf community and about our language, and that might open some new doors that you weren't aware of before. I would like to congratulate the other recipients of today's awards and thank you that we have the opportunity to change the world. So back to you, Iqbal.
Thank you, Olivia, and congratulations again for the awards. Our next awardee today is Ingano Singapore. Ingano is currently completing his Bachelor of Biomedical and Exercise Science at Victoria University, where he received the Victorian University Education High Achiever Award. In 2015, he also received the scholarship from the Smith family, and later he received an Achievement Award from Western Chances. He moved to Australia in 2005 on a refugee status, originally from Burundi. He arrived in Australia where he had no education background, no primary or elementary or any other qualifications. In addition to his studies or part-time work, he participated in many community-led projects and raised funds for the Salvation Army Homelessness Program. He also is running a self-funded initiative program for kids, kids education at local park. In 2020, he received Brimbank Young Citizen of the Year Award and Western Suburb Unsung Hero Award. So please welcome Ingana. Ingana, would you like to say something?
Thank you, Iqbal. Ladies and gentlemen, as wonderfully introduced by Iqbal, my name is Ngano Singabuya. I am from Burundi. I'm currently 23 years old and residing in the western suburbs of Melbourne. Just before I start off, I do want to say a huge congratulations to the other recipients of today's award. And thank you to the Rotary Club of Melbourne for recognizing the endeavors of these young people. I am one of 8 children living with my parents in the western suburbs of Melbourne. And one thing that has led me to do the work that I do today has been based on my background and my family's background. We have not been very blessed in the past with an opportunity to be in a stable position, to achieve, to grow, to develop and mature as opportunity comes. When we first arrived in Australia in 2005, that was really the beginning of life for us in terms of a stable where access to education was, was an option, shelter was an option, and no more resettlements. Because my household has gone through several resettlements from multiple countries as trying to escape war. So thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to just showcase some of the works that we're doing in the community. As Iqbal rightfully touched on, since 2012, at the age of 15, I initiated a small community program back then called Acts of Random Kindness Victoria. Acts of Random Kindness Victoria is envisioned to give young people a platform to express themselves and have an opportunity to engage positively in the community. This was something that unfortunately was not given to me as a young person, but I would have loved to have had an opportunity to have a platform where I could be myself, grow and develop among others of like-minded and like age. And so I worked hard to create that platform for those after me. And that has been my vision ever since. I have so many people around me today with a similar goal, and I'm always willing to work with people, willing to change lives. And I have been involved in the Rotary Club of Essendon in the past, thanks to the Western Chances, who I must say I'm truly indebted to. The Western Chances is a great partner of the Rotary Club, and I'm sure they've worked with the Rotary Club of Melbourne in the past. Well, I received a scholarship from Western Chances. I think my first time would have been in primary school. And they've done a great job in supporting me and watching me grow. I was actually nominated by one of the individuals from Western Chances, Anne Connors, whom I hope is here today. So I just want to say quickly, thank you so much, Anne Connors, for nominating me for this wonderful award. You and Western Chances have been my backbone for a very, very long time. And I also want to extend my thank you to a couple of people. George Yangi from Redcliffe, Australia, Tom Yabio from Football Empowerment, Lisa Timby from Acts of Random Kindness, Lois Singabuya from Acts of Random Kindness. These individuals I've just mentioned have been great supporters of the work that I do. I want, like most of you guys in this group, is to make a difference in this world and make a better place for everybody. And we have the ability to do that because in this wonderful country of Australia, everyone has an opportunity to do great work and do great things. And I cannot wait to continue working with the Rotary Club, because I see myself truly fitting in the work that you do. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you and get to know just a little bit about about me. And I look forward to hearing the last recipient as well. So thank you all, and I hope we can continue to travel together in the path to make this world a little bit better than it was yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, Ingano. And congratulations on the award. Well done.
Thank you.
Our next awardee is Heba Abdul Hamid. In 2003, Heba and her family arrived in Australia after fleeing the civil war in Sudan. Growing up in Australia, her earliest memories were of overwhelming poverty and struggle. She worked to support her family and siblings. She also actively involved in the African and mainstream Australian community. After receiving a bursary from Skyline in 2015, she completed her Bachelor of International Studies in International Politics from Deakin University with a scholarship. Later, she completed her Master of International Development from RMIT. She is also a graduate of Leadership Victoria African Leadership Program. She also co-founded a non-profit organization called AfriCare to aim at the mental health issues. Please welcome Heba. Heba, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Iqbal, Reg, and Dr. Peter Hollingsworth. Also, warmest congratulations to my fellow award recipients, Olivia and Udino. I'd like to begin by first acknowledging the traditional owners of the many lands on which we're meeting today. I'm feeling very, very honoured to be in this room, albeit it's a virtual one, with such an incredibly compassionate and capable group of people. These are really extraordinary times, born out of a unique set of circumstances, both COVID and otherwise. And I think having an opportunity to connect with you all through Rotary is incredible. And it also kind of is a testament to the work that we can all do together. As you would have heard, I mean, my name is Heba. My family and I came to Australia as refugees in 2003. It's been, quite a challenging process, I guess, growing up in Australia, as you do know, kind of mentioned. But at the same time, it's been a very, very incredible kind of few years, being able to have opportunities to be involved in all levels, including, work in the community on a grassroots level, as well as kind of, now on a kind of government level. I have been very fortunate in my work with the community to be able to really connect, I guess, and work with members of the community that don't necessarily always receive, the level of connection or engagement as other communities, marginalized communities, communities that deserve the best opportunities as well. I've also been fortunate through kind of my work with Leadership Victoria to start an organisation, AfriCare. AfriCare is an organisation that aims to address mental health issues within the African community, recognising that mental health and well-being are really closely tied, but also have significant impacts on other issues and linkages as well. So in terms of mental health, in terms of domestic violence, in terms of poverty, that all these things are very interconnected. As part of this work, I was really fortunate to have recently completed an internship with the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, where I worked with decision makers to essentially look into how the UN can be a lot more responsive to the needs, again, of marginalized communities. The UN OCHA reports directly to the Secretary General and the Under Secretary General. And so it was a really excellent opportunity to see how diverse and also the level of impact that can happen on a broader scale. At the moment, I work as a policy advisor in the Department of Health and Human Services. So I'm an advisor to a director, and essentially I work with communities and people with a disability, looking into how they can kind of have the best possible health and wellbeing outcomes. I think more than anything else, standing here today being here today is a testament to this great country and the opportunities that my family and I have been afforded. I think it's also a testament to the power of community and doing good for others. Growing up, although there was a lot of struggle, I was also very fortunate to have a whole village of people around me. This was family, it was friends, it was Skyline, the Skyline Education Foundation, it was colleagues, it was mentors. It was a really incredible group of people who were genuinely dedicated to doing good for others. And I think that this is probably, what Rotary is. It's about doing good for others. And for me to have had this opportunity and for me to be standing here today is a testament to that, and also a testament to why we should continue doing good for other people, especially in these kind of, like I said, very extraordinary, very difficult circumstances. I'd like to, in particular, thank Bev Brock for her nomination of me for this award. I'd like to thank Katrina Ryan, Skyline, and also Dr. Peter Hollingsworth for his incredible work over the years, but also his kind of personal passion for everything that he's done for the community so far, and someone that I have looked up to for a long time and will continue to look up to. I'd also like to just say once again, warmest kind of congratulations to my fellow award recipients again. I feel very, very honoured to be standing next to you both. Thank you.
Thank you, Heba. Well done, and congratulations on the awards. Well done.
Thank you.
How are we looking at the time? I think
we're in good shape, and I have one question at least, and I suspect there might be more.
Right.
Could I ask Robert Fisher to come to the virtual podium and ask a question, please, Robert?
Oh, thank you, Reg. My question to each of the three recipients is, where do you anticipate being, and what do you think you might be doing with your life in, say, 5 years' time? And congratulations to all three while you're thinking about your answers.
I'll go first, Robert, only because it's something that I've answered quite recently. In the next 5 years, I truly want to see myself working in a field where I'm able to give back to the community. And as I said, that's always been my lifelong vision. I've always tried to be in a position where I can say, I'm here as a beacon for my city. I want to be there where people can come to me, talk to me freely, and receive some sort of service. The reason why I'm studying biomedical and exercise science at Victoria University is purely based on that. Where I'm from, or where my childhood, my upbringing, I didn't have a lot of access to a lot of the medical or health-related type of advice or services. And so if I can be that person who initiates this idea of, being able to break into this type of occupations, then I want to be that person. I want people to come to me for health-related advice. And for a very, very long time, I've wanted to get somewhere close to the occupation of Doctors Without Borders, That for me might not happen in the next 5 years, but surely that's where I want to be at the end of it. I want to travel the world, going from different places and offering this type of health-related type of services to those of marginalized or just those who don't have access to it freely, because I've personally experienced it and it's not a good place to be.
Perhaps, Heba, would you like to speak, and then I'll ask Olivia to speak.
Sure. I think I see myself, where I see myself in the next 5 years is thinking back to my experiences and all the kind of very incredible things that I've been able to do, including, you know, work on, I guess, all levels. So from a grassroots level to now on a kind of state government level. I think the next steps in my career are looking to kind of start to dip my toes a little bit more in terms of the international sphere. I'm really interested, and it's been my dream pretty consistently for a while, to work for the UN. And so I think these experiences will really support me into starting to kind of dabble my toes into the UN, but also more broadly in terms of looking at achieving impact from a more international perspective.
Thank you, Heba. Olivia, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share with us?
Yes, thank you. It's a really interesting question, I think, because 5 years, a lot can happen in that amount of time. I mean, if you think, even last year, we didn't obviously know that COVID was going to impact the world the way that it has. And so the world can change quite rapidly. So I can't see into the future, but thinking about what I'm hoping for, I'm hoping that there'll be transformation in access, and thinking about 5 years in the past to now, the amount of things and opportunities that I've had have been exponentially growing over the last 5 years. So I'm assuming and hoping that that will continue to grow, and not just for me, but for everyone else in the community, that will have access to Auslan as a more mainstream form of communication. And at the moment, there's not enough opportunities really for young people, and I'm hoping that that will change as we advocate and work towards a more inclusive community for the deaf community to be involved more in the mainstream community. And I will definitely benefit from that, but I won't be the only one. But I think we just need to work on the small changes that can happen over time. You know, things like COVID, as we've said, we've realized that as a result of COVID, how much technological advances are needed. And I think every day brings a new opportunity in that way.
Well, thank you so much, Olivia. For me, this has been an incredibly inspiring meeting, and it looks like we're out of questions, but I just have one quick question for each of you. Can you identify a specific event that's occurred in your life that has changed the way you see the world and opened up the possibility of opportunity for you? We might start again with Injano.
Yeah. Similarly to what I touched on in the past, for me, it's been my upbringing. I was privileged enough to not be directly involved in my family's, my older siblings and my parents, escape from one country to another country because of war, being displaced because of war. But there are events that actually resulted in how I ended up living. I was born in a refugee camp, so my upbringing was purely, I was born in poverty, and as poor as can come. Like there was literally nothing I can kind of say, I had this that was pretty advanced, or, the only advance I had was the happiness of being with my family. But I think the moment that we came to Australia, I think that was a turning point. That was a point that I personally realized, and I would have been very, very young, and obviously was driven by my parents, constantly reminding us, this is where our lives actually begin. And for me, that was a turning point. That was the event, so to say, that kind of decided to where I want to go with my life, because I didn't want anyone to be where I was for the first 6 years of my life. You know, not having education for the first 6 years of my life, not having a place to call home, or nothing was stable but my family. And so I thought to myself, if I could be something to prevent anybody else from reliving what I lived as a child, then I'll work hard and try to become that thing. And I think that's where I'm heading. I just want to be someone who can deter this idea of being in an area. Obviously, I can't change the world in that way, but I can change my world. And that is the world that anyone who's directly involved with me, if I can help one or two people get better at something, then that's that vision coming true. I'm not saying I'm going to be a superhero and go make the world a better place. No. But if more people started thinking like, you know, if I was in a bad place yesterday and somehow I got out of that bad place, what can I do to make sure that more people are coming out of that bad place, or more people don't go to that bad place? And I guess that's where I am.
Thank you. Okay. Olivia, would you like to share your thoughts? You've already shared your thoughts, I think. No, please. Thank you. Olivia.
Yeah, I think a big changing point for me would be, I guess it's not one event or one thing. It's just about how I grew up and how I experienced the world, the lived experiences that I've had, and the way that I've navigated my life until this point. One thing though is, so I'm originally from Sydney and I moved to Melbourne with my family. And Melbourne has a very strong culture here. We're very inclusive. People are very open-minded and welcoming. And I felt a very different vibe and feeling here than Sydney. So Australia is not the same all around the country. We have our own culture within each area. And I think Melbourne really suits me. I think it's a place that I can really explore who I am, and then I have been able to have a lot of achievements because through my time here, I've been able to develop my confidence and other skills within myself. Moving here to Melbourne, it was a big change to be able to, you know, get these experiences, learn how to facilitate meetings and how to present to large groups of people. Those are skills that I learned in Melbourne. And they're all individual things that you learn along the way. It's small opportunities that you're given that really culminate into larger skill development. And so it wasn't a one thing that happened, but I think I'd say Melbourne, moving to Melbourne is where it kind of started to change for me.
Thank you. And finally, Heba, if you've got a minute or two to tell us your vision.
Reg, I have to say, I think for me as well, it is something that has been consistent over a period of time. I can't necessarily pinpoint an exact moment where, you know, I got this desire to be someone that helps instigate change. But I do think it happened when I was younger, and it happened as a result of kind of, you know, just before the period that we came to Australia, when we were refugees in Cairo, under the kind of auspice of the UNHCR. It was probably in that period of time that I realized that there were a lot of circumstances that were happening around me. You know, I was really young. I was probably around 5 or 6. And it was at that moment that I think things started to click into place, that there were all these circumstances that I had no control over. But in fact, that I needed to be someone that can change the things that I didn't think were right and the things that other people didn't think were right. And also, there were moments during that period where I saw others who were actually in much worse situations than my family were. And it also kind of lit the fire, I think, in that period for kind of wanting to instigate that change. My vision, I think, for the future, for myself, and I think for us as a society as a whole, is that we continue doing good, and that we continue doing good for others as well. Not just because it's a good thing to do in itself, but also because I think our lives depend on others so much, and that we need to acknowledge that in everything that we do, and keep that in mind as well. So whether that's kind of on a really grassroots local level, or on the international scale, we still have to be doing good for others, and we still have to think of others when we are doing things.
Thank you so much. I'm now going to hand back to President Kevin. We've extended our time, but I think this has been a rich presentation today, and I congratulate the awardees. Over to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Reg. And yes, we have been treated to something very special today. So to Olivia, Gano and Heba, thank you very much. We congratulate you on your awards. You certainly have very diverse community involvements, very diverse lifestyle experiences, and such high aspirations. We hope to learn more about your achievements as you stay part of our awardee alumni, and certainly we will be able to learn more about you as reported in our bulletin. So well done to Iqbal and his committee. Great choices, and no doubt a tough selection process as always. So congratulations to Iqbal and his committee, and thanks to Peter Hollingworth for officiating again this year. Special thanks to Olivia's two Auslan interpreters, Sasha, voice interpreter, and Dave, hearing interpreter. We greatly appreciate your involvement. To close the meeting, a couple of matters. It's Jane Munro's birthday today, and if Jane is on board, I hope she is. We wish you a happy birthday. And I'll be sitting down with Joe Mavris at 10:30 on Friday morning for anyone who'd like to join our coffee club chit chat. The details are in the bulletin. And just a reminder, there are two calls from our club treasurer, Peter Hanlon. Please give your attention to the club's annual appeal, which has gone out this week, both electronically and by mail. And also for those involved in the budgetary process, the budget requests for 2020-21 year, for the attention of club directors and chairs, that is needed right now. And finally, for those who have enjoyed the meeting today and would like to participate in our Corona Fighting Fund, you can go online and have a virtual lunch with us and contribute to our fundraising efforts to help some very needy causes. Well, it's been a terrific day with our young achievers. It's a very special day, and I congratulate them again. In closing the meeting, a reminder that next week our guest speaker will be Dr. Alan Finkel, Australia's Chief Scientist, speaking on working in isolation, what's been occupying Australia's Chief Scientist in 2020. And a special note, our chair of the day will be Nobel Peace Laureate, Dr. Tilman Ruff. So next week, we have a very special access to two esteemed Australians who are both honorary members of Rotary Melbourne. So please join us. In the meantime, stay safe, spread kindness, and now I close the meeting with the national anthem and hand over to Maestro David Cram.